welcome to Writers Blockbusters, the show where we treat the final edit of the movie like the script. I'm one of your hosts, Bob Rose, at Thunderground Bob on Instagram. And right now, Jamie is going to introduce himself.
Hey, I'm Jamie Nash. I am the writer of Save the Cat Writes Horror. I'm also the writer of two other Save the Cat books and a bunch of movies that you didn't see, but you should go out and see them because it's Halloween and they're mostly horror movies. You can find me. The easiest place is jamienash.net.
Okay, Jimmy.
I am Jimmy George. I am a screenwriter of movies you probably haven't seen either, and I'm also a script consultant. The easiest way to find me is scriptbutcher.com.
If I knew you guys were going to do that, I would have said I'm the maker of a bunch of shorts you haven't seen and editor of movies you haven't seen. But whatever, we're past it now. Okay. Today we're going to talk about. I think this is my choice. We have each of us has a list of reserved movies that we made like 3 years ago, and we're slowly crossing all of them off. This one, Young Frankenstein, was on my list. Before we get into our talking points, we're going to go around and each say whatever we want about our personal experience with the movie. I guess since it's mine, I'll just go first. I'll be quick. The reason this is on my list is because I know on this show, I have said multiple times that I was raised in a way where the parody version of everything was the real version. And I didn't know. And I've said it on this podcast that I thought this was what Frankenstein was. Growing up as a kid, I didn't understand why Frankenstein in Halloween costumes and stuff didn't look like Peter Boyle. It was always a contradiction to me because I was like, this was just a normal movie. In my life as a kid, movies were just supposed to be funny. So Frankenstein was obviously supposed to be funny. But that being said, I love this movie. I've been watching it since before I was cognitive to even understand it. Like the ending, all the sex jokes and stuff in it, no fucking clue until 20 years ago. I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Why is she singing at the end? I don't get it. Oh, okay. As a kid, I didn't get it. But I would say, yeah, this is a movie. This is maybe the movie my late father showed me the most as a kid. So it holds a very, very deep place in my heart. And I don't think I need to yap about it farther than that. But it's actually not even my favorite Mel Brooks movie. It's definitely top 3. But I dearly love it in ways that I'm not going to bore you with, just sitting here putting praise upon it. So, let's go, Jamie, because Jimmy, you need to go last for a certain reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So Young Frankenstein, it might be like the earliest horror movie I've ever seen, like the first one.
Oh, wow.
I can't. The weird thing is I have a similar father-son connection to this one, in that my father loved movies, and I think I got my love of movies from my father, but he and I didn't intersect on a ton of stuff because he didn't really like sci-fi or horror or supernatural fantasy. He was more like, he probably didn't even like horror movies, like this, the old classics that much. I mean, he was aware of them and stuff. He was more like a Western and eventually like a thriller kind of guy, and James Bond he loved and things like that. But he liked comedy. So I think if I remember correctly, he probably thought Blazing Saddles was like the funniest movie of all time. He's a big fan of that and comedy of that era. So I actually have memories of when he went to see this movie. I was like 3 years old, right? So I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would have been 3 years old when it came out, and I have memories of him going to see it because I was really into like the classic Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that. More the imagery than the movies. The movies were on, but I used to have like little books I had and stuff like that. I was really into like those characters when I was a kid. And then I saw it like probably when I was like 4 years old. And this is back in the day when movies hung around and stuff and they would come back. 4 or 5, I can't quite remember. He took me to see it because I like really was interested. Like I wanted to know all about it from him, and he wouldn't take me to it, even though I had seen movies at that point. But around when I was 4, 5, 6, something, it came to the Westview Drive-In, and he finally took me because I like movies. And honestly, was the kind of I was too scared to watch a real horror movie, but this was kind of like perfect, and it's kind of what I think of. It's kind of like my first entry into horror movies, and then probably like the next year I saw The Exorcist or something crazy.
Right, right.
But honestly, and in some ways when I watched it, I was like, Shrek or something isn't too different than this.
Yeah.
It's almost like Shrek is this today, and in a weird sort of way, or whatever, DreamWorks or something, because they're like spoofs, but take them seriously and love what they're spoofing. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what this is. And when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, of course I'd like this when I was a kid, even though like you said, like the sex jokes and stuff went over my head. It just because it kind of works as a horror movie, even if you're not getting that stuff. But it also has laughs that I understood, like when he says, walk this way. Like to me, to a 4-year-old, that's a funny joke.
Yeah.
That's a joke that works. It's like a Bugs Bunny joke or something. So anyway, this movie in that sense I have a lot of early memories about this movie. And almost like I don't remember a time before this movie, like all the jokes in this movie existed. Like they were just almost like I was born with them or something. Like
Same.
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly
it's
same.
kind of a strange movie in that way, that it's really important in that way in my development or something. But I can't specifically say I can't even say it was ever my favorite movie or anything like that. It was just always existed. It was always there. It was always part of my psychology, so to speak. So that's what I got.
It's really funny the two things me and Jamie just said, and then now Jimmy. Like you basically
Yeah.
both just said from the moment we could remember things, it's been a part of our lives.
How foundational it is for you.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe that speaks to like my side of all of the perspective of the show, as we always differ. Yeah, I've never seen Young Frankenstein. And
Nuts,
so this
man.
was
That
the
is nuts.
first time
We need to play the Young Frankenstein music for that. Dun dun dun.
Or the Val Blucher sound every time.
There's a couple reasons for that. Growing up in my house, there was never we've talked about my dad and his taste of movies, and
Sure. Yeah.
so like as a kid, like I couldn't just seek it out, and it's different now with streaming and things like
Right,
that. And I mean, I've said this also on the show before, like we didn't even have a VHS machine until I was 11, and that's less to do with like my dad's taste and like the fact of when I was alive, you know what I mean? So like whatever my dad was bringing into the house is what I got to see. And so, yeah, that's part of it. And then the other is I just don't gravitate towards spoofs. I don't dislike spoofs. I enjoy a good spoof. And I like Mel Brooks movies. I mean, I love Spaceballs. I've seen Spaceballs 100 times. And I love Producers, and I even went to we're in Baltimore, for those who don't know, and I traveled to New York to see the Producers on Broadway when Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane were doing it. So love the Producers, both versions of him, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. And so like I like Mel Brooks movies. I just never gravitated toward this. So yeah. And what was cool was I decided I wanted to see how close it stuck to Frankenstein, and it had been a while. So I for those reasons that you just said, Jamie, about Shrek, because what's great about Shrek is it's a fairy tale at the same time as spoofing a fairy tale, and that's why it like stands the test of time and is an easy rewatch. And so yeah, I watched Frankenstein, the Universal Monsters Frankenstein, back to back with this, and it was cool to see
Right.
how much it like stuck to the formula of that story, like intentionally, and how it subverted it. So I think I enjoyed it even more watching it as a double feature that way. And I just was struck. I always forget how well composed Mel Brooks movies are, like the composition, the aesthetic, like the sets, dude, the
So
everything about it is so cinematic. They
the
like
the,
they gave
the
it their
laboratory
all.
set is the same. It's the actual equipment from the
Wow.
1931. There's a
Wow.
story about him finding the guy who made the sets, and they were all in his garage. And
That's
Mel Brooks rented
awesome.
them from him, and so it's the same like machines and shit.
Wow.
That's
See,
pretty. It's
and
pretty great.
I was just, I mean, it's awesome regardless, but I was like, man, it looks so close, like
Right.
watching it back to back, you know. So anyway, I loved the movie, of course. And it was really cool to look at it right off the bat from a screenwriting standpoint, you know.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm excited to talk about it from that side of things.
No, I was gonna say if you just look up anything about this movie with cinematography and stuff, there's a lot of stuff about the Mel Brooks and the communication with the cinematographer and how they intentionally shot it
Oh
like
man.
the Universal Horrors. Like it was all
You
very
feel
intentional.
that. You feel
Right.
that, especially watching it
Right.
back to back. Wow.
And I was gonna say you brought just to before we get into stuff. This is our first like quote unquote spoof movie, even
Mhm.
though Mel Brooks is a weird space with spoof movies,
Yeah.
as Jamie put. But I still consider this a spoof movie,
Mhm.
and this is the first one we've ever done, which is nuts considering it's 142 episodes.
I
Um,
I feel like, and honestly, when I was a kid, I loved spoof movies. Like Airplane was probably my first favorite movie of all
there,
time, which
my whole
lasted a few weeks or
personality
so.
is spoof
Yeah.
movies.
And
Like,
then I still watch Naked Gun to this day, and
yeah,
just am amazed at how funny it is or how good the jokes are in it. I feel like both of those might end up being done one day on this show.
Yeah,
sure. No,
definitely.
it's
Yeah.
not because of we don't like them or refuse. It's just it hasn't come up until
I
right now.
Man, and I
And
never thought about the fact that you know, you guys are both talking about how like you loved that growing those movies growing up, and like it's crazy that the taste making, right? Like my dad would never watch that shit.
never watched that. Yeah.
Like there's no way that my father would be entertained by those movies.
I think the only thing my dad really truly loved was like Mel Brooks type movies. Like
Yeah,
he,
my
you know,
my father's kind of similar. Like I said, he like a good Western or a war movie or something like that. And then like Saturday Night Live or Mel
yep.
Brooks or that was my intersection with my, so
Our
I
dads
wasn't
would have
as
got
into the
along,
Western.
Jamie. I
It's
think.
Yeah.
interesting just how we were shaped differently.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that as we're talking.
But
Like it's cool to notice that.
also, the thing that's weird about Young Frankenstein 2 is while it is not a sequel, it is a non-canon sequel to the original 5
Yes.
Frankenstein movies. There's even that line in the movie, the 5 previous experiences.
Yeah.
Like it's noting that it's kind of a sequel to movies that, but and if you think about how weird it is, because you know, the 1931 Frankenstein, I don't know if our listeners know this, but this is something for another time. But if you look it up, the 1931 Frankenstein is really nothing like the novel. I guess we're choosing this because there's a new Frankenstein movie by Guillermo
Mhm.
del Toro.
Yep.
That's probably going to be faithful
Yeah. I
to
would
Mary
guess.
Shelley, but
Yeah.
the 1931's Frankenstein is what created the pop culture Frankenstein. It has almost nothing to do with the Mary Shelley Frankenstein. This is a spoof sequel to a movie that is an adaptation of a play.
Yes.
It's
That's what I wanted to point out. Yes.
right.
The play.
James Whale's movie is an adaptation of the play. What is it called? I had it written down somewhere, but
Something
it's
of Frankenstein. Yeah.
something of Frankenstein, and it's just the existence of this movie has such a lineage back to like
Yeah. It's so
through
weird.
stuff. It's so weird. Like it's kind of so far away from what it's spoofing what the 31 movie was doing, not what's in the book.
Yeah. And like you said,
You know,
because I looked up last night because I was a little confused.
and
Because I have like very loose
Frankenstein and Adventure in
familiarization.
Macabre.
Okay.
That's
So
the play.
we were both way off.
Yeah, sorry. That's the play. It's a 1927 play.
Right. Which changed a lot of the story from the book, and then the movie is playing off of the
And then the
play.
movie's playing off that. Like Frankenstein in the book is much more intelligent. He's also not green.
Doesn't have a lab assistant.
Right. Igor. And in the original movie, it was Fritz.
Right. Which I was confused about. I will say that, like, that was one thing I kind of forgot about. Like, oh, the Igor that's been popularized since then came from Young Frankenstein, really. Like, the goofy persona of Igor.
Remember they made an animated feature?
Yeah.
Called Igor? Remember that? Yeah. I never saw it, but I just remember existing.
Anyway, it's like crazy how it's evolved and changed. And
I just wanted to bring that up because it's our first spoof, but it's such an odd lineage for a spoof to be like kind of a sequel instead of a direct, like Men in Tights is a direct parody.
Yes.
Airplane is almost a direct parody. You know what I mean? Like it's just such a different thing from those. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. That's all I'm saying.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, before we get into our main question, as always, Jamie, what was the box office and what was the budget? I know that's really
the budget on Wikipedia said 2.5 million. It's funny. A few years back, I think there's a book someone wrote it. Maybe it was even Mel Brooks wrote. I almost said Mel Gibson. I was like, he wrote it. It's been weird. And I read the Young Frankenstein book, and I also read Mel Brooks's autobiography. And so there might be more detailed, or maybe Wiki is pulling from that, but it said 2.5 was the number.
Okay.
And the box office, where did my box office go? Because it's got a list we haven't done in ever, because this is one of our oldest movies, 1974. So it was the number 4 movie of 1974. It made 86, and I guess this is from the numbers.com. I'm trying to see if this is probably domestic is what I guess. I don't know, maybe not. It made, because this is a big number for 1974, so maybe it is international, but it made 86 million according to this list.
Oh, on 2.5? Holy shit.
On 2.5. And get this, the number 1 movie that year, Blazing Saddles.
Whoa.
119 million. So you would think he'd be able to do Avatar after that or something.
Mel Brooks was the original James Cameron.
yeah. I mean, it's wild. And then the other movies of that year, Towering Inferno at 116 million.
Okay.
The Trial of Billy Jack, 89 million. Yes. Young Frankenstein, Earthquake. So you got Towering Inferno and Earthquake.
2 disaster movies.
2 disasters, yeah.
Same producer, everything. 79 million. The Godfather Part 2 at 57 million. Which I'm kind of shocked that's that low compared to
Young Frankenstein made more than The Godfather Part 2.
Now here's the irony, because I don't know, maybe but Airplane 1975 made, or Airport 1975 made $47 million, and that was number 7. The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, and man, there were some weird movies back then. I think it's funny, I've seen all these too, because when I was a kid, these were the kind of movies that would play on TV, that made 45 million. The Longest Yard, which was another one of my favorites as a kid, and another one of my dad's favorites, by the way, and probably why it was mine. And that made 43 million. And then Murder on the Orient Express at 35. I will say, so only because I have personal connections to these, probably my first favorite movie is on this list, Herbie Rides Again at 31 million. And then the first movie I think I ever saw, I saw it when I was 3 years old, Benji, made 31 billion.
Jesus.
I've seen Herbie Rides Again and Benji.
Yeah, I've seen them too. Yeah.
Benji's one of my earliest memories. At the end of the movie, I was so like, I don't know, emotional or something from watching a movie for the first time and liking this movie and having fun, that I cried at the credits. Like I was crying through the credits. I couldn't. One of my earliest memories is not being able to stop crying at the end credits of
Wow.
That's,
I cried at the end of Air Bud, so I understand what you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
there you go. There you go. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out that same year too.
Nice.
Jeez.
26 million.
You know, I also wanted to say too, this is our second movie this year that's a modern comedy, or not modern, but modern comedy that's in black and white.
Yeah.
So we did Clerks, Young Frankenstein. We got to do Ed Wood at some point now.
Yeah.
Complete the trilogy. Yeah, right.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right.
Just to give a couple quick things about who wrote this shit.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks wrote it. I think there's some split credits, like Gene got a story by and screenplay or something like that. But interestingly enough, this was a Gene Wilder idea. So Gene approached Mel. I've heard differing stories on this, but the one thing I heard was that, like, when he wanted him to be in Blazing Saddles, he said, "I'll do it, but you got to do my idea," or something like that. And that was Young Frankenstein. So they agreed to work on Young Frankenstein together. But it was if that part wasn't true, at least the part that was true was that on Blazing Saddles, he came up to him and said, "I have this great idea for, I want to do Young Frankenstein." So it was a Gene Wilder idea, which is always interesting to me because I always hear how much, Mel did this movie because he loved the original horror movies. But, it was actually Gene who originated the idea.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
I also, I don't know, look, I don't know the behind the scenes on it, but it's my favorite Gene Wilder performance. And I feel like this is always something that in my head I've always had is Gene Wilder's scenes where he's going nuts feel so him.
Yes.
And directed by him, whereas the other stuff feels so Mel Brooks. I have no proof on that. That's just a feeling I get from a lifetime of watching it. You know what I mean, though? Like when Gene Wilder lets loose in this movie, it feels like another director, and it's great. I have no problem with it. It just feels different. But yeah. Also, I think there was Mel wanted him to get main writing credits or something. I read something about that.
Oh,
I don't know.
Because he had the idea, he wanted Gene Wilder's name above his or something.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they list names in order, Jamie, but right? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Kind
of. I think it can be a thing. I don't know what the Writers Guild says about that or anything. I don't know how that works.
Like order of names.
Yeah, because it really depends on if you're a writing team. And if you're a writing team, I think you get to choose, and that's
Gotcha.
So in the WGA, and who knows how it even worked in maybe 1974 had a different set of rules. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in the way it works is if you're a writing team, you're separated by an ampersand. If you rewrite the other person, then it's an end. Or it's usually nothing. It just kind of pops up on the next thing.
The comma.
Yeah. So, but the ampersand is the key. But I think if you're, what's Babalu Mandel and what are the two famous guys from the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Lowell
Gantz. Lowell Gantz.
Yeah. I think you kind of get to choose how you
the
want.
League of Their Own guys, those guys.
Yes.
Okay, so in our constant effort, or in Jamie's constant effort to find something new to talk about.
Yes.
You found a list. Deep. You dug deep, found a list on Film School Rejects of 6 filmmaking tips from Mel Brooks. And a lot of these have to do with, they have some good writing connotations in there, right?
Yeah. And I kind of paraphrased from an article entitled 6 Filmmaking Tips from Mel Brooks from Film School Rejects. It was a 2016 article. And the funny thing about the 2016 article, it starts out, the 90-year-old comedy legend.
Jeez.
That was, yes. So he's 99 years old.
And he's going to be in Spaceballs too.
He's going to be in Spaceballs too. And they're making a new Young Frankenstein TV series right now.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know that he's involved.
What a life, man. He's a war hero too. Don't forget that.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I had somebody I know that was a showrunner on a show, and he was like in the next office down, and they said he was super cool and funny. He'd kind of come out and talk to him about politics or something, and they said he was super nice, very kind of down to earth, talk to anybody kind of guy. They really enjoyed. They said he was really fun. So and he didn't know them at all. He just like talked to anybody. So this article, like I said, I kind of paraphrased some of these, but you can go back and check that article on Film School Rejects. And not only did I kind of do this, I kind of went and looked at different interviews, and I saw he repeated a lot of these things to many people because I was trying to find like the best way in to talk about Mel Brooks. And they kind of summarized, they did an interview, but he kind of summarized like, here's 6 suggestions for filmmakers, whereas all the other interviews were lots of different topics and maybe bring up one or something like that. But these seem like things he's brought up a lot in interviews.
Yeah.
So, okay. So number 1, comedy is rhythm. Okay. And he says he got this. So he was actually like a world-class drummer, apparently, that trained under Buddy Rich. Like that's where Mel Brooks comes from. Like he was a drummer.
All the kids love Buddy Rich.
There you go. And he was so he actually says that his drumming is actually part of how he approaches comedy or what he thinks important. He says there's a certain rhythm to it. And the one thing I was trying to wrap my head around like what this would even be, but he said punchlines shouldn't land on the obvious beat. They work best on the offbeat. And I was like, the weird thing to me is like, if you land a joke on the offbeat, like to me, maybe because I'm not the expert he is, like to me, I put it back on the beat. So if I hear somebody say like, your hump or something, and he goes, "What hump?" Like to me, that is setup payoff. It feels like a setup payoff. It sounds like on beat. Or when like I said, the joke that cracked me up when I was a kid, walk this way, and when he starts walking and then he walks this way, it's set up payoff. It's set up and then surprise. So I didn't really have a great example of that. I wish he gave a great example.
Yeah.
He didn't.
I feel like this one is almost maybe a little more editing focused.
And he has one like literally that says comedy's found in editing. That's
right.
One of
he does
jokes. So he believes that for sure. But I was trying to think of like, I wish I had read this before I watched it because I would have sat there and said,
I read it after.
Yeah, I was like, what joke comes at an unexpected moment that comes out of nowhere? So maybe that's a homework for our viewers or our listeners, I should say. What joke in Young Frankenstein do you feel comes at a non-setup payoff spot?
We're going to talk about it later, but the Elizabeth's comic obsession with don't touch her, don't kiss her, don't touch her hair, that definitely nails, comes out of nowhere. Lipstick. In the scene, and it's just keeps coming out of nowhere. No, not the nails. Not the lips.
It's the same. It's honestly the same with Marty Feldman when they meet at the train station.
Yeah,
like he's not expecting the hump and all. Everything. Yeah,
that's true. So they are some that come out of nowhere with no setup. That's true.
Yeah, even some of the ones like him getting her hair caught in his face or something like that. They kind of just come out of nowhere. So they're surprised in that they come out of nowhere. In some ways, like there's a sudden joke that comes just from
it's
no
like
setup.
Instead of a jump scare, jump joke.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of is that way. It's just like boom, there it is. Yeah, it's a jump joke.
Like it's in the inverse. The inverse of this, I would say, is something like when he's actually on the train and that old couple are having the argument. Yeah. And then it cuts to the German when he's in Transylvania, and then it's the German couple having the argument. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's like an expected joke.
Yeah, setup payoff. Yep.
Right. It's just expected. It's not out of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
Jump jokes.
Jump
jokes. Put it on the board.
This next piece of advice is the one I saw him give most often. Like, and he said this across many interviews. But he essentially used the term exposition. I kind of summarize it as build before you pay off. So he actually suggests, and I'll explain it one way. like taking your time and not maybe being a slave to jokes early on,
Right.
like or at least. And I see this a lot. I see people so in a rush to get the jokes to be funny and comedy that they lose some character development. They lose some of that stuff we talk about in other podcasts, like the setup beats. Whether it's the flaw or or the rooting resume or whatever those things are. But his thing is, I, I'm kind of paraphrasing again, but relax and actually set your characters up, because the more you set your characters up, the funnier things will be later on. So the quote I have is, explain things. If you risk no laughs for 12 minutes, again, the setup beats, right? It's the 1 to 12, catalyst comes at 12. You earn bigger laughs after. And in Young Frankenstein, honestly, when I was watching it the other day, it'd been a little while since I watched it, but it's a movie that, like, again, it's almost like a memory, like I was born with, so I kind of remember everything about it.
Right. Yeah.
But what kind of struck me when I was watching it was the opening when he's giving that speech. It doesn't have a ton of joke density, and joke
It's sparse.
density.
Yeah.
It's sparse. Joke density is, like old school sitcom comics talk about joke density. They're like, how many yuck yucks do you have per page? That would kind of be the thing. And they're looking for, like, they have a number in mind, like 3 yuck yucks or 5 yuck yucks or whatever. It sounds like I'm doing a children's song. 1 yuck yuck, 1 yuck yuck. I don't know. But when I was watching the opening, there's Frankenstein, that's a joke. There's stabbing in the leg, that's a joke. But really, that opening scene kind of takes its time and patience.
There's a lot of time before you get to the stabbing too.
There's a lot of time.
And the old man. I would say the old man is the big joke before the stabbing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also,
the old man. Yep.
The way what he's talking about here is the character buildup. As far as we're talking about movies, this whole scene to me is funnier in rewatching because he's kind of full of it.
Yeah.
Like his arrogance before you get to the old man and the stabbing joke.
Yes.
Is funny now when I watch it as an adult, because I know he's kind of like, got this whole, we'll talk about comic obsessions and stuff, but he's kind of a fraud.
Yeah, he's kind
of
a
fraud, but he's also a pretentious,
guy.
angry, bitter fraud.
Right.
And it where there's not jokes, where you're talking about, Jamie, is funny to me now because of that. They're not exactly constructed jokes, but it's a funny scene to me because he's so arrogant to his students, and pissed off at them.
It's what's funny too is, and we didn't do a rooting resume. He's kind of like not a likable character from a rooting resume.
He checks the inverse of the lot of the boxes. Yeah, I noticed that.
He doesn't really get a save the cat moment at all. I mean, I bet the only thing he has is Madeline Kahn treats him poorly, so he kind of is an underdog in those regards. But even then, you kind of feel like he's an idiot for sticking with her or something. I don't know. He's like, it's strange. It's definitely a strange.
We start the movie out with him essentially lying about science.
Right.
He bribes the old man. Like it's completely inverse rooting resume.
So, and I think he's one of those guys like Bill Murray in a weird sort of way that just the casting of him gets away with it in some ways. Like you sense something about him that he gets.
If it weren't Gene Wilder, it would feel different.
Yeah. And the spoof aspect I think helps with that too, because you're realizing this is Gene Wilder kind of playing this character to an extent. There's something about the way the acting is done and things like the melodramatic recreation of these original things.
You could argue that him hating having to live up to the bad reputation of his family name is sort of a rooter. There's some sympathy there, but he throws it in the garbage right away afterward by
he's
lying.
Kicking this old guy in the nuts.
Yeah, right. He paid off an old guy to get kicked in the nuts to lie to his class. Like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
You know.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
yeah.
But before you move on to the next
Yeah.
point, Jamie, it's a good point.
Sure.
I just read a script that the before world was like 7 pages long,
Mm.
and they just skipped past all of this, right? So you barely got anything about the character, and then the jokes started because they wanted to get right to it, you know. So it's an interesting point.
Yeah, and the third rule or whatever that I'm kind of paraphrasing is tied to it, and that's story first, comedy second.
Yeah.
So build a true story out of it. Don't just make a joke machine. Like I think a lot of the spoof movies went off the rails, like in the scary movie phase, and they did just become joke machines. Like I couldn't even pitch you the stories of most of those, and I probably saw them all.
I could extensively explain how it meticulously went downhill with each spoof movie. I remember all of them.
Yeah,
I won't blame the Wayans brothers, but the Wayans brothers were teetering on the line of it becoming
they were.
terrible.
They were, and they
Yeah,
got
the
away
Wayans
with it
brothers
because
they're
their jokes
comedic
were
geniuses.
their jokes are really funny,
Yeah,
right?
no,
That's
Wayans
why they
brothers
got away with it. Yeah,
absolutely love the Wayans brothers, not even insulting them, but they pushed it to the very limit of joke machine.
they did.
And then
They did.
two guys named Seltzer and Freeberg capitalized on just making joke machines and ruined the entire genre.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Until now, Dewey Cox was kind of a, and then there's the Lonely Island guys. Now we got the new Naked Gun. Like it's coming back a little bit, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But so he says, story first, comedy second. We went over this with like the Judd Apatow, when we did when we did Good Boys, I don't know that we talked about that, but we did Bridesmaids and stuff like that. And the Judd Apatow style of comedy was, or the note he would give to these comics that started to write movies, like when, gosh, why can't I think of? I can't what the Superbad, like when they wrote Superbad, and also when Bridesmaids was written, the note he gave was write the drama first, add the jokes later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, I mean, that's not what Mel Brooks is specifically saying here, but that's kind of what he's saying is
Adam
it
McKay
has to work as a drama.
Adam McKay had a rule, like I remember when he was doing press for the other guys, he said like make a normal action movie and then fuck up 10% of it.
I love it.
And that's what he viewed as the other guys. Like that's how you make it funny, but you have to make it a real action movie first.
And honestly, when you see the great like spoof movies, like Airplane, and again, Airplane was one of my favorite movies ever. And Airplane, literally, I think they ended up having to buy the rights to the original movie because they adhered so close to the movie they were spoofing that they weren't sure if they were covered or not. So I think they actually may have bought the rights. I just read a book about Airplane too. Not Airplane 2, but Airplane
2, the sequel.
Oh,
yeah.
And I think I saw something where Naked Gun did a similar thing. Like there was some movie they were specifically spoofing as well. I'm not sure that they bought the rights, but in Mel Brooks, he whether it's Blazing Saddles or this or some of his later spoofs. I mean, the interesting thing about him is he didn't like this is a sequel. This is a sequel. He kind of did his own stories. Like he more riffed as opposed to like, let me just do the exact story that I'm spoofing and then make jokes. So
this is an actual.
It sticks pretty close.
I was gonna say that this is a real Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
It just has jokes in it.
It sticks close in the way Alien sticks close to Alien, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah. The formula.
Like it has the beats, like, but it does forge new territory as if he was creating a sequel.
Yeah.
And they hired the wrong guy to create the sequel or something like that.
Yeah, like the Angry Villagers scene, there's like a 6th generation version of that. He's a Frankenstein. It's in their blood.
Right.
He has problems with his family. They have problems with his family.
Yeah.
It's working off all that. It's a real sequel. to the
and
franchise.
for that reason, he spent the time in the beginning to set up this character with a flaw, like with
Right.
this legacy issue, and the fact that he's
Mhm.
a fraud and denying his past and all those kind of things. He set up a full-bodied, story that has a midpoint and has an all is lost and and actually, if you compare the opening image, or maybe not the opening image, but the opening to the final, there is a journey there and a twists and turns and everything. And he's a different person in the end, literally in some ways, but also arc wise than he was in the beginning of the
I
story.
like I still do like the fact that he's still a fraud at the end, because
That's
in the
funny.
end he only learned how to do all this from his grandfather. He never really came up with anything by himself.
No,
He's
no,
a total fraud from beginning to end. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. So number 4, this one doesn't totally fit us, but I'll mention it anyway. Is he said final cut matters, when
Yeah.
what he really meant there was that editing matters, like he believed that the timing and the comedy is created just as much in editing as it is in the writing and things like that. And I think the one writer lesson to learn from this is um, the rhythm of, to an extent, the rhythm of writing comedy and things like that. The rhythm of it on the page is actually an art unto itself. Um, and honestly, as a writer who has written comedy and jokes, I will say one of the things that gets misconstrued is the improvisational thing, where everybody thinks comedy must be improvisational. I don't know if Will Ferrell did that to us, or who did it to an
Judd
extent.
Apatow.
Judd Apatow to an extent.
Yeah.
But Mel Brooks hated actually when people messed around with the words too much and things like that. He believed there was a certain rhythm to it. And I kind of agree more with him. Not that I don't enjoy a good
I think they're
improvisation.
both okay. It's just a matter of taste, and
Yeah.
you know,
I enjoy, I mean, the thing about it is Will Ferrell, when he improvises, he
he's a
understands
genius.
rhythm as
Yeah.
well. So he's coming up with he's just rewriting it according to his rhythm. I think Mel Brooks is more like, and this is what drives me
Ye
crazy sometimes, is when people just mess with the sentence.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't like when people mess with my sentence when I have jokes, because I very carefully, like, they'll do things that, like, they don't understand that you're not supposed to laugh to the last word. You know what I mean? Or something. And they'll skip things around to make it feel more natural. And sometimes the joke, typically jokes land on the last word. This is like a really basic case. But every now and then people will mess with my sentences, or the trajectory of the sentences that land the joke. And it's the type of thing you really shouldn't mess with unless you're Will Ferrell. Um,
I was gonna say the difference between these two eras we're talking about, or two filmmakers, is that like Judd Apatow films in that era, those all necessitated starring comedians. They had to, or
it's
else they
true.
wouldn't work.
Mhm.
Whereas I think that Mel Brooks, you could definitely argue a lot of his movies that he made actors funny because they're following his script. His script's funny. Whereas with Judd Apatow, you need somebody like Will Ferrell or Seth Rogen or whoever to be able to do it on their feet.
And
Yeah.
And that's
we haven't done a Jim Carrey yet, but I
right.
just
Or
watched a
yeah,
whole video
something
from
like
Jeff
that too.
Daniels talking about this very subject,
Right,
where
right,
like it was built for his improv and he
right.
just followed whatever he did.
Yeah.
The last point on this I wanted to say, Jamie,
Uh-huh.
is this one quote by Mel Brooks in this section. He says, when he's talking about editing, he's talking about footage. He says,
Okay.
"Give me everything you got, outtakes, the works, everything you got. I'd look at it all, spend a couple of days not editing, just looking at it and running
Mhm.
through it in my head."
Mhm.
That is why editing is writing. Like when you're
Mhm.
editing something, for anyone who's listening who never has edited anything, is you look at all your footage. You just watch all of it. And that's like one of the most arduous tasks. And then you decide where you have to find, like, you have to find the actual ending script. Our podcast is the final edit is the script. You have to
Mhm.
find it from what you have
Mm.
and make the
Yeah.
best out of that. That's writing.
I
Yeah.
that
It's writing.
it's amazing how simple of a suggestion that is, but how profound that is. Because I have worked on things with editors and even myself where I didn't watch everything, and until I did, it was never good enough. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
maybe for the interest of time, like you found, oh, first take was great. I'll just put that in.
Right.
And then, but it wasn't until you watched everything over and over and over, and just simply forcing yourself to watch everything as you construct it is sort of, I mean, it sounds so simple. It sounds like the most basic thing, but I can't tell you just in the interest of time or effort how often people don't, like either directors or editors or producers or whatever, don't watch everything. And it really is important to watch everything.
It's also beware of filmmakers you work with who shoot way too much.
Yeah.
I'm serious. There's people who don't know what they're doing. They shoot too much, and they're never going to watch all of it, and they have no interest in it.
You're talking about David Fincher, right?
I'm
No,
not. Oh, not. No, I'm
Stanley
talking about it.
Kubrick? No.
I'm talking about life.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about anyone famous.
Yes. Okay, so the next number 5 is know the line, and this is basically almost like, when do you cross the line? When is there any? Can you cross the line? And he believes there is a line, and a lot of what in his interview is really talking about punching down as opposed to
Yeah.
punching up. And when you look at Young Frankenstein, he doesn't he tends to stay away from some of the punching down kind of stuff. He more mocks like ego and vanity and ambition, and that's where he hits his targets. I should say they hit their targets the most. Is those kind of things, like he's mocking those kinds of tropes and things like
I like
that.
that punching up versus punching down. That's good. That's
Yeah,
easy to follow.
and
I mean, very specifically,
horror tropes
yeah.
as well. He's
Yeah.
also, that's another target, but that's a target is you can kind of, it's not punching down to make
this
fun of a
section gets-
successful horror movie.
Right. This section gets a little heavy, but I do like him talking about, because the person that's interviewing me says, how do you separate Hitler from the Holocaust? And then
Mhm.
Mel Brooks talks about Life is Beautiful. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Life is Beautiful, but because he is
Sure.
somebody who's made fun of Hitler a lot,
Mhm.
you know?
he's famous
Right,
for
but there's a
it,
difference between, but he basically says the difference between mocking Hitler and making concentration camp humor.
Right.
And that's over the line, and I think that's pretty astute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's interesting in this day and age, not to open up this can of worms, but when I was a kid, there were a lot of Hitler jokes, Hitler humor,
Yeah.
and guys like him fought in World War II. He's
Right.
There's the Jewish thing, I'm sure he knows people that experience that horror firsthand. But there was a lot more humor like that. I know we had what's the Taika Waititi movie or whatever,
Jojo Rabbit.
yeah,
Jojo,
but
which a
now
lot of
it's like,
people did not approve of. They didn't
right,
Appreciate,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of changed, but I see his point. Like, you can make, back then they enjoyed making fun of Hitler a lot. It was something when I was growing up, it seemed like they did in a
Making
lot
fun of
movies.
just, I would say, straight
Um,
making fun of Nazis. Like
yeah,
Hogan's Heroes existed.
and it's
You
probably
know?
because they were closer to it. Like
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
further removed, we don't almost feel like we have the right to do it or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery
Yeah.
slope.
Yeah.
So number 6, pace the audience. And this is, again, a very similar to his rhythm kind of thing. But he's basically saying, all the scenes shouldn't just be like joke machine kind of things. Like you should have your high points, you should have your putting on the Ritz scenes, and then you should have other scenes. But there's a certain pacing. There's an ebb and a flow. Everything can't be on the level of a 10 joke wise. Everything can't have that kind of like, let's have people on the floor laughing every single second of the movie. Like let's build a roller coaster essentially of laughs. And those are the 6.
I got when I first started screenwriting, I've talked about him before, Jack Epps Jr., who consulted on some of my scripts and wrote the Dick Tracy the 90s Dick Tracy script and Top Gun and Secret of My Success. One of his notes to me as someone who was learning was, he said, your script is too much, is on steroids, because I wanted everything to be like bam, bam, just like in your face, every page, all over the page. And he was like, he's like, there's too much steroids, man. You gotta like pace it just like that. So that reminds me of the steroids note.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I want it to be overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like
you're also doing it in a short film. Like
it's different.
I was doing it for 100 pages.
Yeah, you're doing 100 pages. 100 pages would be exhausting. Yeah.
It's okay for a scene. It's okay for 5 minutes.
And I was like, what do you mean? Pages. It's awesome. But I was learning. But
there's probably, we could probably think of a great movie that did it, once.
I mean, you could argue like Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's pretty.
That was the first one that came to mind. Even to an extent, The Substance comes to mind. But
it doesn't stop. It doesn't let up.
Yeah, but
it's concept dependent for sure.
It's concept dependent. Yeah.
There's a reason those work, and they have vision. If it's somebody without that vision trying to like cocaine it up, it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah. The Joke-O-Meter, Jamie. This is yours, right?
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking about when I watched this movie, and I thought people trying to write movies like this, and honestly, I don't know that Jimmy, do you come across too many parodies or spoofs?
Never. Maybe 5 in 8 years.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny is, and I think I've talked about this before. When I first started screenwriting, one of my earliest scripts, honestly, I thought I'd be a good spoof writer. It was like kind of my sense of humor. Is more so like the bad spoof movies we were just talking about than this. Like this is actually a good one. But I was like, and one of my first scripts that got some attention, as I think I brought up on this show before, was one that was a spoof of the independent movies of their time. So it was like American Beauty and Memento.
I remember this.
And it had like one of those funny names that I can never remember what it was.
I love that you can't remember the name. You've written that many.
It's because it's one of those super complicated names, like Don't Play with Your Sling Blade. If you're an American Beauty doing it, it's like one of those stupid that they were.
Don't Be a Menace title ripoff.
It was a Don't Be a Menace title ripoff, but it was like it mixed all this, and I can never remember what it was. So we used to always just say, I wrote it with a co-writer. We used to just kind of call it independent movie. But the one thing I'd say about that, I don't know why I'm even bringing that up. It was like that was the one that I mentioned that Harvey Keitel was. I think I talked about it in this podcast. Yeah. He kind of was loosely interested in it at the time. But that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say anyway. The one thing I'd say when you're writing comedy is all comedy. Well, this is where I was going to tie it in. My co-writer at the time always wrote spoof stuff. So I was trying to push us in a Judd Apatow kind of direction. And he was putting spoof jokes in, so it'd be like Walk This Way. And then we'd have that. And it'd be like, does that fit in a Judd Apatow movie? No, it doesn't. Okay, no, it doesn't. And he was, because they were the kind of jokes he loved and he wanted to do it. And I eventually realized, I'm not sure that he couldn't do the Judd Apatow stuff, but he just couldn't. At least when I was with him, he couldn't do it. He just couldn't bring himself to not, like if there was some low-hanging fruit, Simpsons-esque spoof Family Guy style joke, he was always going to go for it. And he just couldn't not do that.
Couldn't resist.
I just realized that he wasn't the guy to try. And comedy was changing, like when we were writing comedy. Like we had come off the era of that. It was slowly starting to morph into something just a little bit more serious. And that brings us to the Joke-O-Meter. Okay, so the Joke-O-Meter, you've heard me talk about the Tone-O-Meter. The Joke-O-Meter is what I wish I had for him back in 2022, or I'm sorry, 2002.
I was gonna say
2001.
22. Jesus.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that late. It's kind of like the changing era of when we were kind of coming off like Fairly Brothers stuff and moving to some other direction.
Well, Fairy Buzz, I would say Judd Apatow was next.
Yeah, and we were probably more stuck in the dodgeball mentality or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that was a
yeah.
little fake or something. It was a little stylized. So the Joke-O-Meter is something I wish I could have given to him at the time. I would be like, okay, let's agree on a meter, a scale of 1 to 10 of the tone of this kind of movie, of the tone of jokes, like, and then we can ask ourselves, um, does this joke fit in this movie? So, for example, Young Frankenstein, I off the top of my head, I made a quick joke-o-meter for Young Frankenstein, and I tried to skew it towards horror comedies and things with like a slight horror bend, even though I don't even think it's necessary. I think we could have easily used Naked Gun and Airplane or whatever.
Hot
So,
Fuzz or something.
Hot Fuzz, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect example. So, I put it one, and this is just me ripping off this in 10 minutes off the top of my head. And it's something, especially if you write with a co-writer, you can do it together and it kind of, and talk about why you're scaling, and that's a good way to get into how you see comedy and how you see jokes. It's almost like a good thing to do before you start a project with a new writer of comedy. So one, I just put Scary Movie 3 in the most broadest joke machine level of comedy. Okay, I put that as number one. Number two, I put Repossessed, but honestly, that would be where Airplane or Naked Gun. Repossessed was a Leslie Nielsen Exorcist movie, right?
Yeah, I would almost. Have you seen that recently?
I haven't seen it recently.
Because I'd almost say put that even
as
to one.
as one.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, it's probably I'm not sure if Scary Movie or Repossessed is which one is which, but I kind of was thinking
I'm
more
not
like
trying to criticize your decisions, Jamie, but Scary Movie 3 is verifiably different than 1 if you don't remember.
Well, if I remember, Scary Movie 3 was and the reason I put 3 was because it was even more of a joke machine than 1 and 2.
Yeah, because that's when Zucker came in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of put it there for that reason. But I don't know, maybe the other one goes there. All of these are relatively close.
Yeah.
And then Repossessed, I put because I would have put Airplane in the spot, but I was trying to figure out a horror movie version of it. So I came up with Repossessed. And then 3,
which is technically almost a sequel to The Exorcist.
Yes. And then 3, I put Young Frankenstein. So I think it has a little bit more story and a little bit more reality. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not as surreal as these other ones. Like these other ones are almost like when we talk about anti-plot, like anything could happen. Like literally, they can break reality.
The difference between like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein is nothing in Young Frankenstein takes you out of the time period.
Yeah.
Whereas in Blazing Saddles,
exactly.
you have like the guy from the medieval hangman, or they break the fourth wall, they watch the movie. None of that happens here.
And there are things in Young Frankenstein, like in the world of Young Frankenstein, any of those things can happen. But like in a movie like Scary Movie 3 or Repossessed or something, you could literally have something that couldn't happen in the world. Though I think that, I don't know, that might be a rule Zucker and Abrams didn't like to cross. But I just feel like shit could hit the fan. You know what I mean? Like
that happens.
That happens in Airplane, right?
Yeah, right.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that doesn't happen in Young Frankenstein.
Right.
At no time to shit.
There's not a modern fan that gets thrown into the screen.
No. And that's what I'm saying. Like there's nothing like that in Young Frankenstein. So I feel like that's ahead of these other spoofs as far as tone or joke-o-meter goes. So then these are all controversial, and I did these super quick. But so next I get to like Tucker and Dale, maybe What We Do in the Shadows, flies in somewhere around here. Then maybe Shaun of the Dead shows up around 5. Then Ghostbusters maybe around 6. Then I don't, maybe this one's wrong. I was like, where does the substance fit in? Does it fit in like before this or after this? I'm not really sure. But then like 8 or 9 would be for Joke-O-Meter. American Werewolf might be at like 8, and maybe Get Out is like at 9 or something like that. Whereas Get
Get
Out
Out or
has
Weapons. I would say Weapons would also be
weapons,
there. Yeah.
where they have a sense of humor, but they're not. It's not necessarily that in service of the horror.
I
And
wish
then,
Weapons had a shit hitting the fan.
yeah, and then maybe something like the Menu even is at like 10,
Oh,
where it's
yeah,
more
yeah.
like
Ain't glad it
satirical.
throws shit at
Yeah.
the fan. I can
And-
tell it.
And what my recommendation is, if you're working on comedy, is to do a list like this, do a tone,
Yeah.
and think about it like kind of like we're doing. Like, it's debatable, it's whatever's in your mind, but then you can kind of look back and you can say, you know, if you're writing Ghostbusters, and you have a walk this way joke, you can say, what is that? If you're writing something on the Ghostbuster scale, you'd be like, that doesn't fit in Ghostbusters. You know,
Jamie,
yeah.
one time I got into an argument with a friend over what counts as a spoof. And that argument ended up with us breaking down pretty much exactly what you're talking about, because like I was basically saying that's not a spoof, and he was arguing that like Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy would count as spoofs, and I was like, that is not a spoof in any way. And so we broke down this whole thing, and it ended up being pretty much what your joke meter is. Because I was like, no, I was like, for it to be a spoof, there has to be some sort of like reality breaking line or something, or like that. You can find spoof jokes in Disney movies. Aladdin, you know, the genie
Sure.
he makes spoof jokes. He knows about the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, like those are spoof jokes. Is Aladdin a spoof? No.
Well,
but they're there. You know, so we had this like in-depth conversation about what
like
counts as
the
spoof
genie
humor.
has its own tone scale.
Yeah, he's a spoof character inside of a normal movie. Right. Yeah.
And it's interesting because then you get the whole thing that I would not be, I'd have to almost arm myself to be even understand how to debate it. But spoof versus satire. You know?
Yeah, no, I purposely kept that off the talking.
Yeah, it's
because that could take an hour.
Boy,
you could have a whole podcast just to talk about that.
You can have things that are both.
Yeah, and I don't even know that it's how instructional it is outside of
that's that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
but
what does it teach you? What's there to learn from it?
Because you're more figuring out the definitions of both and then applying them. Where this is purely my scale is purely about figuring out if your joke fits. That's what it
can I just give my shortest answer?
Sure.
Is that I feel like a great spoof loves the thing it's spoofing, whereas satire is trying to say something about the thing it's talking about. I don't necessarily think Young Frankenstein is giving us a critique on these movies.
No, it loves
other than love, other than pure love. It's not giving us like here's why this is messed up, or here's why this isn't right, or here's a power imbalance or something. It's not doing that. It's just telling us it loves this thing and it's going to have fun with it.
No, that whole scene where he's talking about this is happening for the 6th time.
Right.
Like
that. Right. I mean, in general, and that's within his own filmography. I don't agree with this, but people don't like his later spoofs because they argue he didn't love the things he was spoofing. There's a lot of people that hate Spaceballs, Jimmy, because they don't think Mel Brooks loved Star Wars. That's fine if that's your opinion. I'm not going to argue.
I don't hate Spaceballs, but I can kind of see the point there.
I get the point, but I still love Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I get the point about Robin Hood, but I still love Robin Hood Men in Tights. You know, I get it.
Right. Now the weird thing is he probably loved the original Robin Hood.
Yes, the Errol
he was.
Flynn
you can argue he was spoofing Errol
Kevin
Flynn.
Costner one? Oh, I don't know.
The name is spoofing Kevin Costner, but I think the movie's more an Errol Flynn parody than anything else. So, right? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what about Dracula Dead and Loving It? No,
I'm a fan, and I can't. I can only defend certain parts of it, but he tried. People were hoping it was another. They were hoping it was the spiritual sequel to this movie.
Yeah.
It did not turn out like that. Right. I still kind of love it, so I don't care.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whatever. But that has different type of jokes, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
I don't.
Agree.
Yeah, I don't
It's
want to break that down.
that
But
almost reminds me of him doing Zucker Abrams or something. It's like a different
yeah,
type of.
like that's the thing, is his '90s stuff was copying them a little more
Mhm,
from
mhm.
Spaceball. You know, like in Robin Hood Men in Tights, a guy is putting a club on the horse to lock, like he's locking up
Right,
his
right.
car. That
Yes,
wouldn't
yes.
happen in here in this movie.
Exactly. It's a different to
But
it's a
that would
different
happen in
joke
Blazing
meter.
Saddles,
It's
though.
on the
So
different joke-o-meter. Yeah.
It is.
Blazing Saddles would do that, though. So it's like it's not a time period for him. It's
Mhm.
just what he wants at the time,
Yeah.
what he
Right.
decides for the movie. So
I'd say his biggest, like, weird swing in this movie is he does break the fourth wall
Yep.
a lot.
You took the words out of my mouth. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the one thing he does. I always wondered, like, what movies up to that point were breaking the fourth wall. And maybe there were a lot of them. I don't know. I like maybe Annette Funicello and Beach Blanket Bingo. They were looking at the camera and winking or something. I don't know. I really did.
you could
But
almost say like he was probably getting it from TV. Was probably doing it way more than movies at that
mhm,
time,
yeah,
right? So
yeah. And he was a writer on your show shows, and you could see where
right,
the
right.
host might kind of they'd be in the middle of the skit and might just almost look out at the camera like, "Can you believe this? Can you believe I'm doing this?"
Still, I'd say the fourth wall breaks in specifically Young Frankenstein aren't egregious like his other fourth wall breaks. Like
Yeah,
in
Right.
Spaceballs, like they
They're
accidentally hit the crew, the camera
yeah.
smashes into
Yeah.
Rick
No, they're
Moranis.
just little
right,
winks.
right.
They're
They're
little
little winks.
teeny winks, whereas opposed he just was like other movies, he's like, no, the movie's gonna end with us breaking, having a fight that goes into another studio. That's like
Right,
completely
right.
different, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Character driven comedy. Blind comic obsession. This is Jimmy.
So Jamie put it on here, but
Oh, oh,
I'll start it and we can
go for it.
all bounce off of each other. So this is something we've talked about plenty of times on not just comedy episodes, but drama episodes and horror episodes. You name it, it works in any genre. It's character specific, as the topic says. So I learned this from Robert McKee's comedy seminar about 25 years ago. And Robert McKee didn't come up with this, but this is just an observation that he made that, most comedy that comes from characters is based on them having a blind comic obsession. Now, the blindness is that they have this fixation that is extreme to everyone else, extreme to us as an audience, extreme to other characters in the movie or the show, but to them it's normal. They think it's normal. It's just who they are. So since we've been doing this show, we've seen time and time again how this tracks, and this is what makes most of the characters funny. So yeah.
Yeah,
We've
and
talked
Jamie,
about
did you
comic
put this
obsession
on
a
here
lot
because
too.
we have.
Yeah.
We haven't done it in a bit, but I know in the early days, because it was one of my favorite topics. I always liked this idea. It's something that was new to me
The
from the show.
Twinkie, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
yeah.
Zombieland, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's, so with that, you want to kind of
Yeah,
see if we can
I've
figure
got
them out?
some, and I know Bob noticed some. So
Okay.
and then at the end of this, I noticed something that the movie does
I
that
feel
I think is unique.
I
Go
want you
ahead,
to
Bob.
list yours. I'm not going to say any right now, but I'm just saying if you go through every character in the movie, they
Mhm.
all at least have one.
You
Okay, well I'll do
I
some.
think.
So Frederick,
you can
so
feel it.
Frederick has multiple.
Okay.
And the most obvious one is the obsession with the pronunciation of his name,
Right,
which
yeah.
they have their own whiteboard with that. It's not just a comic obsession, but it's a running gag. It's kind of doing two techniques at once, and they use that to show how he's like growing and changing, and where he eventually doesn't have the obsession anymore. Like, call me this instead.
My name is right.
So then Inga is horny. Like every scene with her is a different joke about sexual energy, right? Like, would you like to have a roll
All
of the hay?
double
Knockers.
entendre, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Frau Blucher, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
She is devoted to There's two things, right?
Yeah,
There's the
there's
horses.
that,
Yeah, every time her name is, that's like a running gag. But the Frau Blucher's devotion to dead Victor, like every scene with her, there's jokes that are specifically about her obsession with the dead relative version of him, right?
Her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend. Yeah, he was my boyfriend.
Right.
And then Bob, did you have other ones?
No, you pretty much said.
Oh, okay.
I kind of figured you'd cover them, but yeah, no.
But so what was cool about this one?
How about Igor? What did you have anything for him? Like
I didn't have anything with him.
I was like, what is he exactly? Like he was the one I was really struggling with too.
You could argue Madeline Kahn, her vanity is her comic obsession, obviously, right? It's totally
and so
Igor is more running gags.
Yeah, running gags, right? So what I noticed that this movie does that's interesting, to your point, Bob, is and I'm gonna look out for it now in everything we do from here on out, is that they have scenes where people have a comic obsession that's just for the one scene. And it's never brought up before, never brought up after, like Frau Blucher's beverage persistence, like when
Ovaltine,
when she's trying to
nothing.
Yeah,
thank you. Sorry,
she just lists one. What she say? Brandy, warm milk, Ovaltine. She just just won't let up. And that's like the comedy out of that scene is just from that comic obsession, but like she never brings it up again. So I just thought that was interesting and unique. And then the Elizabeth, you're right. Madeline Kahn does have kind of vanity throughout the movie, but I guess since she doesn't show up that often, I felt like it was like scene specific with that one scene with the "Don't touch me." That was a really funny. Don't touch.
She's kind of vain and shallow, and that's kind of her.
He's trying to say goodbye. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect example of how to use like a comic obsession, right? Right. She's obsessed with it. And it's extreme, and that's why it's funny.
With Frodrick, it's not just the obsession with his name. You could also argue his obsession with legitimacy.
Yes,
makes him
his
funny.
Image, yeah,
his image. He is a fraud, and he's trying to find legitimacy, and that's what drives him really when he finds out there's a path to it.
And it's kind of what stands out as why he's funny in every scene. It's
right,
like the backbone of everything that's funny about him. So
like the scene when he's right before the resurrection is like so normal, and then he puts his head down and he comes back up and he's like functionally insane. And that's all because of his comic obsession.
Exactly.
He wants to be taken seriously. Like he's some kind of mad genius when he's done nothing. He'd earned nothing.
But yeah, so this is, once again, we're watching a comedy and it stands out that they're all over the place. So it's definitely a tool that if you're writing a comedy, you can use, and pretty easy to do. So
your characters need to love or want something so bad it's funny.
Yeah.
And and then you decide how much you deny them that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that goes right into running gags and joke pretzels. Is that separate, or is that
well, some of them are running gags, right?
Yeah.
He uses it. So this I'm starting to call it joke pretzel instead of premise pretzel when it comes to comedy. So Jamie and I kind of came up with something that we talked about a lot, which is a premise pretzel. You want to go into that, Jamie?
Yeah, sure. So a premise pretzel is kind of a special case of setup payoff, I think. But if you're taking like something about the premise that's interesting, something about the very concept of your idea, and you set it up, you pay it off, and then you try to figure out every which way you can pay it off in a different direction. You pay it off backwards, you twist it, you turn it, and you keep kind of going into the same joke in different ways, and finding opportunities to keep, and I'm using joke here, but it doesn't have to be a joke. It could be all kinds of different types of things.
Exactly. You've simplified it as one setup, many payoffs. And,
one setup, many payoffs. Yeah.
And one thing that to remind you, I always like to remind things of great things Jamie has said in the past. You once tweeted about how what has stood out for you as a consultant is when you read a pro script, the entire script is just an exercise in setup payoff, right?
Setup payoff all over the place. So you're constantly going, aha, aha.
It's the
Another
single
payoff, another payoff.
Yeah.
I don't ask that people come to me for writing advice, but that's the one thing I tell people if they ever do. I'm just like, if you know nothing, know that.
It's
Setting
great,
up
no.
and paying off, it's like, what else do
Yeah.
you need? You know?
And you can just keep doing that.
You
So a
keep
lot of
doing it
times when
constantly.
when we get a script, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Jamie, but I think it's pretty obvious by his quote there is there's like ideas are so good and then they just like kind of like don't do anything more with them. They have like this great idea and then it just sits there. And then what usually happens in the rewrites is you notice that and you point it out like, well, you can take this thing and do this with it and do this with it and do this with it. You can just keep using that idea and building it and playing with it more. And a lot of people who are starting out, they don't realize that you can do that.
I even would say, and this is something that just occurred to me, like while we're saying it, I think sometimes, that feeling writers get when it's like, this isn't working. I'm on page 40. I'm on page 50. Is this going to work? It's so painful. It's so is before you start realizing the setup and payoffs. You're just doing setups and it starts feeling like nothing's clicking. It starts clicking when you start hitting the payoffs. Like, and sometimes that takes the second draft, like that's sometimes when it takes, but a lot of times in that first draft, that's the problem is you're not, I almost think that's part of what, it's clicking, it's moving, it's coming together. I think it's realizing you're paying off things that you wrote earlier. So that, I don't know. I just think it's really important. The payoff part, it's sometimes it's just iteration that helps with that.
Yep.
As much as it's magic,
And so when we've started, because we haven't done a lot of comedy on this show, it just doesn't come up.
Probably about
often.
like 5 comedy.
Yeah, we haven't done
like
many
that.
comedy movies.
Yeah, it's not much.
And that's a lot of that is because like a lot of the movies that come out now, there's not that many new broad comedies that are blockbusters, right?
Also, like you guys are horror filmmakers. I feel like that's where we kind of always have leaned a little bit.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
I feel like also people seeking screenwriting advice aren't normally comedy writers.
Right. They're not. It's not the number one thing that people are looking for, right?
Comedians write comedy, whereas screenwriters write movies, right?
But what we noticed as we've done these comedies as that a running gag functions like this, it's basically like a whiteboard for that first joke.
Right.
And it's like the joke, and we just talked about it. And Kevin Smith, I can't remember which running gag, but he used a joke like 12 different times throughout the movie. He kept twisting it in different ways and making it come back and reversing it, turning it on its head. And it's one joke that just keeps getting repurposed in new and surprising ways. And like our familiarity with it is what makes it so funny. And, so this movie has tons of them. It's got,
we got Walk This Way, the hump,
the moving hump, the horses reacting to Frau Blucher, they do that different times and they escalate it and they use it. The train smoke, there's like 3 different jokes with the train smoke, and that's only in like a 5-minute span. Inspector Kemp's prosthetic hand has its own whiteboard. And it eventually culminates in becoming a battering ram to break into the into the lab. It's
the last thing he says to the lumberyard or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. The operatic singing during sex, and then that has its own reversal, right? So it's not just one joke; it's reversed.
Goes back.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Frankenstein pronunciation comic obsession is also a running gag, to
the point where he becomes normal.
Yeah.
He can finally speak and he's just a normal dude.
So it's if you're writing a comedy out there, like if you come up with a good joke, try to like kind of make a whiteboard of like ideas of how you can repurpose it. And it's like one joke, many laughs, right?
I would say too, like the place that you could learn this from, you can watch comedy movies. That's going to help. But I would say anyone like really interested in this specific thing, sketch comedy is where you want to go. because
Mhm.
great sketch comedy. Like watch like Key and Peele. Watch like the entirety of Key and Peele. They are masters at making one joke and then turning it on its head like 15 times
Yes.
in like
Mhm.
3 to 5 minutes.
Yes, that's a
Like-
great example.
Like you want to, if you want to learn how to write like this, watch great sketch comedy.
Yeah, because we talk about this when we do the comedy episodes, Bob. We have this conversation where it's yes, comedy is like instinct and it's
Absolutely.
hard, but it's also can be taught, and you can use these techniques to be funnier. So
Some people are going to be better at it.
of course,
Some aren't, and that's just the truth of life. But
Yeah.
you can. James Gunn is not a comedian, but he's funny, and he can
Yeah.
write funny, but he's not. I wouldn't call him a comedian. That's
I bet you if
possible.
we broke down the movies just for the comedy, we would find these same
Same
Mhm.
techniques,
Mhm.
put into
but I don't
play.
think he would call himself a comedian
Yeah.
at all, right? He's just
Yeah.
an example. I'm thinking. I don't think Edgar Wright would call himself a comedian.
Right.
His
yeah.
movies are funny.
I said right.
Right, yeah, you did say right. 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 Okay. Dread flags and comic reversals.
All right, Jamie, you got your book out?
I got it.
Is that the one that's for sale, Jamie, that I can order?
That's right. That's right, Bob. You can get Save the Cat Writes Horror at any Amazon location near you.
Oh, sweet. I'll go do that now and leave a review positively.
Leave a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Leave an extra star.
So okay, I put this on here because this is a spoof, so it's speaking to what we were talking about, how it loves what it's playing with, the source material, and in this case, it's playing with genre expectations and using them to subvert them in comedy. Like, we know what these things are. We know what these dread flags are from watching horror movies, not just Frankenstein. And it knows we're going to feel these things because we're familiar with it. And it uses that to make us laugh. So I thought I took examples directly from Jamie's book for this particular topic.
On sale now.
On sale now on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to get Jamie to set them up, and then we'll show how the movie uses that for a joke. So the first one is Howls in the Dark. What's that, Jamie?
Howls in the Dark. I mean, a lot of these are self-explanatory, but it's the idea that there's some monster you hear in the woods. It could be a howl, it could be a banshee, but it's usually like a werewolf or something out there in the dark.
Do you guys remember which reference this is? Bob, you have to.
What? For
Which
Jamie's
scene this is? Yeah.
For this movie?
For this one, this example.
Oh, I mean, the first thing I thought of was the dinner scene.
Oh, that's later. No, this is when.
Oh, the werewolf.
Yeah.
Werewolf, right? Of course.
Werewolf.
Werewolf.
So
but it also makes me think of the
Yeah.
Oh, you like it.
There's a literal howl in the dark.
Yeah.
And it knows that we associate that with a dread flag in a horror movie.
Right.
And so, werewolf. Yeah. So that's one. There's a comic payoff playing with our familiarity with the dread flag. Okay, number 2, mocking the monster flag. You want to explain that one, Jamie?
Yeah, mocking the monster might be one where you literally kind of make a joke at the expense, like oh yeah, Jason's going to get you, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something where you're not giving the monster its due respect, and we as the viewer kind of like, uh-oh. Yeah, they'll pay for that later.
They're going to pay for that. And in this instance, it's when the jailer is tormenting the shackled monster with fire. And the monster's fear escalates with the lit match, and he breaks free. And in this case, he strangles the jailer, but it's funny because we have been waiting for that to happen because we're familiar with the genre expectation and that dread flag. So
I mean, I'd almost argue that the putting on the Ritz is part of this too, a little bit.
That's true. I didn't put that on here because we're expecting like
Frederick is not respecting the monster
That's
at
true.
all.
Well, you're speaking to the next example I was going to use,
Oh,
which is
sorry.
bad temper. No. I'm not that particular example, but the dread flag. Jamie, bad temper, violent tendencies.
Now I got that. So bad temper, violent tendencies. I don't even remember that one I read.
Just for anyone that's listening, because we don't do video, Jamie's looking at his
I'm
book.
looking at my
His
book.
own book.
He's looking at his own book.
A book that you can get and look
Right.
at yourself. Right now, signed copies are available at savethecat.com. You can buy your own signed copy.
It's really easy to look at. It's got a great font.
Yes. Yeah. So some people can't contain their anger. Their outbursts are a ticking clock. We know eventually the same venom will explode and be focused on our heroes.
I love that I'm getting Jamie to read his book.
I know,
on
it's
the
amazing.
fly.
Oh, by the way, you could buy my book and hear me read it on Audible.
Oh shit. Okay.
Okay.
Jimmy, you know what this makes me think of?
Okay.
Well, you give your example. I know what I'm so
All
I
right.
don't run over you with this.
So, and this is almost in combo, Jamie. We've noticed how the dread flags kind of work in tandem. There's usually more than one at the same time. And there's another one called I'll Be Right Back. You want to explain that? And then I'll use the example, and then Bob can bounce off that.
Okay.
Sure. And I'll be right back is your classic scream. I'll be right back. You know, when you so somebody that says something like that and just goes away, it's kind of like in some ways it's mocking the beast.
Yeah, it's like heading toward danger.
Heading toward the danger.
I mean,
not expecting the danger to get them.
The example for that is him locking himself in the room with the monster.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
both of these,
Like,
so I put that as it's playing with our familiarity with these dread flags, right? Bad temper, violent, a monster with violent tendencies, and the I'll be right back. He's going into danger and anticipating that he's not going to get hurt, and it's playing with our genre expectation that this is going to lead to bad stuff. And then it's because he's like, no matter how much I beg you, do not open the door. And he's like, let me out, get me the hell out of here, mommy. So
it's almost like the reversal of that is almost like the fact that they don't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it actually just does exactly what you think is going to happen.
So, once again, there's another example. It knows exactly what kind of movie it's spoofing, and it knows that we know, and it's using that to subvert it in comedy. So, did you have another example, Bob, before I move on to the next one?
I was going to say, if you look at this movie a little bit like Frederick is the actual monster here, you know what I mean? Like his ego and everything, he's kind of the monster. I was thinking that when you first said the first part, not the second part, I was thinking of the Abby Normal scene. He's a ticking time bomb of anger that we know he's about to explode.
Yeah,
on Igor, and he does. He starts choking him. Then that leads into the sedative joke.
Which is all that. Yeah. That's a good one. Okay, so the next one, Jamie, this is another tandem one, so I'm gonna put you on the fly to try to flip through pages.
Okay.
I think this is two dread flags at once, which is isolation flag and help is not on the way flag. You want to set that up?
Sure. Do you know what page that is? No, I'm just kidding. So isolation could be anything from, like, I think in the book I have like cell phone going down, or car won't start, or anything that kind of says, we're in trouble, we're going to get stuck. It could be the weather, it could be like the bridge out in Evil Dead. What was the other one you said, Jimmy?
Help is not on the way flag.
And help is not on the way is similar. So you get a glimpse of someone that might be able to save them or something like that, but in some way they're either distracted or incompetent or otherwise questionable. Like, so, you set up, it's kind of like setting up the help, but then also setting up that there's an obstacle in the way of that.
Go ahead, Bob. It sounds like you got it.
Well, I'm just assuming what you're thinking about, but I'm going to say R.I.P. Gene Hackman. Is that what you're thinking about? The blind man? Oh, no, damn.
The blind man. Yeah, the blind man. Yeah. R.I.P. Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, right. Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah. So we see...
that's the blind man scene. Yeah.
it's the isolated character and help is
Right.
not on the way, and we associate that with dread from horror movies. It's playing with those exact expectations, and
Right.
then it uses all of that for comedy.
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite scene in the movie
It's
by
great.
far.
I was gonna
Yeah.
make
So
espresso. That was
so
improvised, by the way. That was not in the
that's
script.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But Jamie, once again, it's using another dread flag. Too. Okay. And so that was all of the ones that I cut. Like I had like 6 more of these, but that's plenty. But
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of atmospheric ones like Dark and
Right,
Stormy. There's what's an interesting one that you say it. The little girl scene is almost like a reference to the original Dracula.
is,
That gives you dread just from seeing it because it's such a scary, dreadful scene. That just, I don't know. It's almost like I have one called Chekhov's Chainsaws. It's almost like that in some ways because we recognize what they're about to spoof, and it's such a horrible scene that it creates dread.
and then
it's
they
one that's not even in the book. It's like a meta. It's like a meta one in some ways.
Yeah, that later I have in a minute. I have some where they specifically, instead of using mundane, familiar, they use what's mundane and familiar in Frankenstein.
Right.
So yeah, that's the mundane. That's the familiar. So to your point,
and that's it for dread.
That's
flag.
it. Everything for that one. Yeah.
So let's talk of the out of place technique.
Okay, so this one we have specifically talked about most recently in Clerks. So we also talked about it on the Wayne's World episode, and we talked about it on Deadpool. Deadpool, a lot of these comedy techniques came into play as well.
Yeah.
I'm remembering now. And in Steve, originally comes from Steve Kaplan's book, The Hidden Tools of Comedy, which we've referenced multiple times in those episodes. And I've kind of simplified his out of place technique has like 4 different tiers, 4 pages worth of codes, and I've kind of simplified it for the show into like one simple thing, which is I call it the funny formula, which is ordinary or mundane or familiar plus out of place, inappropriate, like the motion detected at the door.
That was so out of place, Jamie.
Hey, there you go.
Makes it funny.
Yeah,
that's a dread flag, by the way.
Yeah, right. We didn't list that one.
The warning of the motion detected at the door.
Right.
It's Amazon delivering another copy of Jamie's book.
Right.
So the example that I like to use is this explains why this is what memes use. So this explains the "this is fine" dog meme. You have an ordinary domestic setting, which is a dog sitting in a room. The out of place inappropriate is the room on fire. And then he also has an out of place inappropriate calm reaction that this is fine. So it's combining ordinary with out of place and inappropriate to create comedy.
Right.
So some examples, I'll use like just basic examples, and then I want to talk about how it subverts Frankenstein specifically. So ordinary flirtation, would you like to have a roll in the hay, plus out of place inappropriate literal hay rolling.
Yep.
Makes it funny. Ordinary instruction manual, like in the library, plus out of place inappropriate literal instructions, how I did it makes it funny. And then it does a whole bunch where it's like it's taking what's familiar about Frankenstein and what we know about Frankenstein and then adding something out of place. And you've already talked about a lot of these, Bob. So, and bounce off of this if anything comes to mind that I miss. The Frankenstein famous medical jar with the brains is the familiar Frankenstein, plus the out of place inappropriate, which is a sign that says, do not use this brain.
Right.
And that's what makes it funny.
Or slip brain, the slot for slipping brains.
That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Out of place, right.
The Frankenstein lightning rod we're familiar with. Plus the out of place inappropriate is Igor using a kite.
Yeah.
That's what makes it funny. The Frankenstein laboratory.
Igor wearing a yellow rain slicker thing.
That's also the out of place.
Yeah.
The Frankenstein bed that the body is raised on is the familiar Frankenstein. plus the out of place, inappropriate, the post sex scene is
Right.
what makes it funny. It turns it into a joke. And then they double down on the joke with "never interrupt me while I'm working," which is a double entendre.
Right.
The Frankenstein scientific demonstration, like you mentioned, that we're familiar with in just like horror movies in general. Like, here, look at this monster.
Almost King Kong, right? It's the
King Kong. Yeah. Plus the out of place, inappropriate, which is a vaudeville song and dance.
Right.
That's what makes it funny. So it's time and time again, we're seeing how you take the ordinary and just like with premise delivery, you add something out of place or inappropriate, and all of a sudden it makes it funny if it's tonally balanced. To Jamie's jokeometer point.
How out of place that's your thing to answer for later. How out of place something is.
Yes.
Right. Comedic misunderstandings.
Yeah, this is mine. So we've never talked about this, but every single time we do a comedy episode, I kind of think about talking about it, but such low-hanging fruit that I never do. But I thought we'd talk about it a little here.
Okay.
Jamie, do you use this tool a lot when you write comedy?
Like, give me an example of what you mean by it.
Yeah.
It's basically like it's playing with superior position. So we as an audience know something that the characters in the scene don't. And that's what makes it funny. So they are thinking one thing is happening, but since we know it's not happening, they play that for comedy. So it's like a character's lack of awareness. So for instance, Bob, you mentioned the yummy scene. The yummy sound, right? Like in the other, in the other, they're all eating dinner in the other room. The monster is growling and approaching, and they're like, "Yeah, yummy." They're talking about the food, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And then you hear the monster growl again. They're like, "Well, you just said it's yummy." So that's an example. The Abby Normal, like Igor and Frederick don't know that the Abby about the brain, but we do.
We do. Yeah.
So it's a comic misunderstanding, right? They're misunderstanding what we have superior position over, so it's funny. And then my favorite one in the movie is the parents are looking for the little girl Helga, and they're really scared. And then we have that seesaw moment where the monster launches her back into the bed, and they come, and she's in bed safe and sound. They're like, "Oh," and it's funny because we know she just got there, and it's a comic misunderstanding. So this is like one of the most basic comedy tools. If you watch any TV show, you'll see it. And I only wrote 3 examples, but there's at least
that's great.
To some degree, you could argue too with a movie like this, there's an element of that in the movie itself, right? Like the audience is in on the fact that it is a universal monster movie spoof, which we know what that means.
Right, he's in a spoof. Yeah,
we have superior position the whole time.
So the whole movie is that.
The whole movie is a comedic misunderstanding, right?
You know, when you're sitting down and you're staring at the blank page, and you're like, "How can I make this scenario funnier?" One thing you could play with is like, "Is there a way I could play with superior position and make this funny?" So yeah.
I think I use these all the time, but I never
like intuitively. You just intuit it. Yeah.
This is like one of those things that doesn't often have a name.
Yeah.
But people like a smart,
well, and I've thought it was such low hanging fruit before, but it's useful.
Yeah, here's a weird thing about it. When I think about it, I think I use these in joke pretzels a lot. Like it's one of my pretzels. You know what I mean? Like,
so that you've had the joke and the audience knows what the joke is, and then you're gonna play with it again.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Like when I think about it, that's probably the way I use it most.
That's
like,
perfect.
It's kind of like when you were mentioning like the monster, like you can use that many different ways, and in this way it might be a misunderstanding, but maybe somewhere else it's something else.
I mean, literally Three's Company, the entire show, every moment is this.
I was gonna. We just did Uncle Buck 2 episodes ago. The scene where Uncle Buck is trying to fix the washing machine is a perfect example of this, where she thinks he's having sex with somebody in there, but we know he's just fixing the washing machine. There you go.
That's a great pull. Great pull.
Comedic not so secret weapons.
This is my favorite one. I think I said that the dread flies is my favorite thing, but this is actually my favorite thing that the movie does, which is So we've talked about not so secret weapons ad nauseum.
Right.
It's like the Chekhov's gun. It's Luke using the Force to blow up the Death Star, crossing the streams in Ghostbusters, the oxygen tank in Jaws, Dutch's Mud and Predator, etc., etc. So my favorite
it's another special case setup payoff.
Yep.
Except
Yeah.
it's the one that wins the day. It's the payoff that wins the day, almost.
Exactly. So I think Mel Brooks, even though this movie is 50 years old, understands what that is.
Yeah.
And is playing with it intentionally and turning it into a running gag, which is the violin playing, because that ends up being the not so secret weapon that gets him back to
Right.
the lab. It is the using the Force, it is the crossing the streams, but instead of waiting to use it in the end, they use it in the beginning, and then they just keep using it in new and funny ways. It's a running gag throughout the movie, right? So
Yeah.
that was like my favorite thing. I've never seen a movie that uses the not so secret weapon over and over, and I've never seen it used like comedically. So I wonder if we watch comedies now and look for this, if we'll find it more comedies doing this. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if there's this in like Austin Powers or things like that.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good, like, that's a good example of a joke pretzel or premise pretzel in
Right.
some ways, the music in this. I could also argue that the not so secret weapon in this is the brain switch kind of thing. Like,
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure.
Like they have okay.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, it works. I love
because he put the brain in the monster, and now the monster's putting his brain in him or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it's set up that much. You know, it's kind of almost just like a trope of these kind of mad science movies. To really be a not so secret weapon, there probably had to be a long, elaborate thing in the beginning where he's like, and then he tried to switch brains, and or something.
But it very much functions like the crossing of the streams and all of those examples we've used in the past. It's like the thing they do to get the monster back, and I just loved that they used it as a running gag and did that whiteboarding with it. It was my favorite thing the movie did.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's great. That brings us to the end of our talking points. Is there anything left you guys want to say about Young Frankenstein? I'm happy that Jimmy liked it.
I loved it, dude.
There's a part of me that was like, man, I hope Jimmy doesn't dislike Young Frankenstein. Because I didn't know, you're watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein really, though, is a timeless movie.
It is. Totally.
It's even knowing that it was made in 1974. Like, if you would have told me it was made in 1985, I wouldn't really be like, "Oh, no way, that was made in 74." Or I mean, I don't know. It really is timeless. It could have been made in 1960. It could have been made in 74. It could have been made in 90. It could have been made now, almost.
So, the one tidbit I didn't say that I had written down was Mel Brooks thinks it's his best movie.
Whoa.
But he thinks it's his third funniest movie.
Right.
He thinks Blazing Saddles, the producers, and then Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that he separates both.
Yeah.
He thinks this is his best movie, but not his funniest movie. I mean, obviously he thinks it's funny. I'm not saying he doesn't that, but the fact that he doesn't rank it number one while also saying it's kind of my masterpiece.
I think Blazing Saddles is one that maybe
it's
doesn't
pure
age
comedy.
It doesn't age quite the same as this.
No,
I don't think it's as timeless. I think it's more modern to its time. But the thing about Blazing Saddles was, I think when it came out, it was one of those movies that had moments of people just dying in the theater.
Yeah,
this movie's a little bit more subtle with its humor.
It's a different type of comedy than Blazing.
That was the thing that surprised me about it the most, actually.
It doesn't have that go for the kill kind of comedy. It's just more just super light and fun to watch throughout, and has good jokes throughout.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's really like an actual great movie, whereas Blazing Saddles is a great comedy.
Yeah, and strangely enough, I think I barely remember seeing the producers. Probably because I saw it when I was a kid, and it wasn't as interesting to me as
producers isn't a spoof; it's just a comedy.
Exactly.
Now, the thing I didn't want to bog our topics down. We were talking about. You talking about joke machines, Jamie.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is my favorite Mel Brooks movie is History of the World Part 1, which
Yeah.
oddly enough, it does have a through line, but that's his joke machine movie.
Yeah.
It's a sketch
Yeah,
movie.
It's a sketch
I was
movie.
gonna
It's a
say,
sketch movie. That's a joke machine. And that is my favorite Mel Brooks movie.
Mhm.
But it's the fact that I would gravitate towards the joke machine says a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I love
Maybe
all
we'll-
of them, so it's not really like
I-
it's splitting hairs.
I think like we talked about even with Scary Movie, the joke machine movies, if they're funny,
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
they can be great. Yeah, it's like who cares? It's like what's the medium of film for? Is it always for story? Sometimes it can just be for laughs.
The problem
Yes.
with the Seltzer Freeberg disaster movie, date movie, all those, they weren't funny.
They weren't that funny. The jokes aren't
The
great.
jokes were bad and they were badly made.
Yeah.
They were cheap and unfunny, and you can't get away with it if you're unfunny.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Again, watching like SNL or Key and Peele or something, SNL has its hits and misses, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. But when it's funny, it's funny. And when
Did you
Key and
guys-
Peele is funny, it's funny.
Did you guys see the new Naked Gun? Did either of you?
Not yet.
Oh, it's
I've watched about 10 minutes of it.
you turned it off.
No, it's my son. My son loves Naked Gun, the original, and he actually bought the new Naked Gun. My son, who has severe autism and focuses on certain movies, Naked Gun is one of his favorites.
The first one.
The first one, the original. He loves like the national anthem scene and the baseball scene. He watches it over and over and over again. And he bought the new one. And one day he turned it on like randomly, and I saw like the first 10 minutes, but it wasn't like I sat down to watch it.
Yeah, you saw it.
I want to watch. I actually want to watch it.
It's
I love these movies.
It's
I love
Akiva
Naked
Schaffer,
Gun.
the guy, the Lonely Island's Akiva Schaffer. I saw it twice in theaters. It's solid.
Yeah,
I think it's solid. I think it didn't shit on the franchise or anything. It's pretty.
He
solid.
bought it. He bought it. Like I probably wouldn't have bought it. I think it was on like the streamer. I don't know if it was Paramount or Peacock or whoever produced it, but he bought it. So I'll definitely watch it.
I think it made money too, so hopefully we'll get more spoof-esque movies. I would love that again because they just announced Scary Movie 6. The Wayans brothers are doing Scary Movie 6, so I'm pretty excited about that too. So bring back spoof movies. We were better culture when we had good spoof movies.
Dude, we need more laughs.
I know, like quality good spoof movies are important in my opinion. I think that's everything, guys.
Yeah.
Unless we plugged Jamie's book.
Yes.
Did you guys have anything else to plug?
Jamie, you want to plug the trailer that just came out for the Christmas movie?
Since you brought it up, sure, I'll plug it. So there's a movie. It's really not much of a plug because I can't really give you any action to go except check the trailer out. But there's a movie I wrote a few years ago. It was originally called Santa.com, and they changed the title to Mission Santa Yo-Yo Rescues Christmas or something. It's got
okay.
Sorry to laugh. I'm laughing at your face as you say this.
The first part's pretty good. The second,
part. It's like what explains it is it's a European, it's a German company that made it, and I think they retitled it that for the European audience, but also the company that I originally got hired by, I don't think they're a company anymore because they were originally like own the rights to Santa.com, or they own the URL, and they were trying to turn that into a whole thing. And they were actually going to do a whole bunch of Christmas movies and stuff based on like kind of this world they were creating. And I don't think the company lasted till the movie got finished. Like it was a subsidiary, so the company itself I think is okay, but the actual company that hired me didn't last. So the German company, this is way too much information that anybody wants to know. So the German company took control, and so since it's been retitled, and it's retitled like for different territories, so that's why even when I say it, I'm like, I think I've seen something like it's always Mission Santa, but sometimes it's an Elf's Adventure or something like that.
Is it uploaded to YouTube? The
It
trailer?
is.
Yeah,
What's the
I
title
watched it on
on
my TV on my.
What's the
If
title on YouTube so they can just look
that
up that specifically?
I and that's the one I'd have to look it up because
I didn't realize that I was setting you up for this, like,
yeah, it's got like
stumbling through
it's
your
got like 4 titles, and
plug.
I don't know what they ran with for the English
I'm
version.
sorry, Jamie.
Um,
I
but
didn't know you weren't ready for this.
so like when I Google it, usually I just Google Mission Santa, and the elf's name's Yo-Yo, and usually he's in the title. But sometimes they don't put him, like for different territories, they don't put him in the title.
That's so
And I
weird.
just don't know what. I can't remember what specifically the title. Like it's all variations of the same title. Like one's, and the English one just dropped today. The one that Jimmy mentioned just came
So
out this morning.
I think
So
I
I'm not
found
that.
it.
Yeah,
It's Mission
it's on my.
Santa Yo-Yo to the Rescue trailer on the channel Sola Media,
Yeah.
SOLA Media.
And see, the funny thing is, if you would have asked me, I would not have said that's what the title was, because I'm so
Right.
used to the English translation of the German title, and that's not what it is.
That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's close to that. It's like Yo-Yo Saves Christmas or something,
Dude,
but Yo-Yo to the Rescue is not
getting
what it was.
movies made is
Yeah.
so complicated. I actually love listeners getting to hear this stuff because it's
Yeah,
like,
and it's an animated movie. It's it's a kids movie. It's
it
like
looks awesome. I'm
Yeah.
so excited to see it.
it's so I'm just glad to see it got made. Like I said, after all, it was probably about I did it during the COVID era, so and I did a few drafts of it, so probably 2022. So it's probably been 3 years since I wrote it or something. Which I mean, animated movies take a long time. You know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can go to YouTube and just I typed in Mission Santa Yo-Yo
Yeah, that's what I
and
do.
it came
That's
up.
what I
So
always
just
do.
do that to watch Jamie's
Because who
new
knows?
animated Christmas classic.
The
I
title
mean,
might
it's so
change.
cool, dude.
Yeah,
The
it's
title
great.
might change by the time somebody listens to this.
But they
It
won't
might have a
change the
different-
YouTube video probably.
I'm just kidding. I mean,
I'm just trying to get them to be able to watch the trailer, Jamie.
That's probably the title. It's what's weird too. This has nothing to do with our podcast, but like the German.
Oh yeah, the
German
show's
one,
over. You can stop listening. I'll leave this in.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
German one had like maybe a listener can explain this. The German one had like millions of hits. Like it already had millions of views. And it had 0 comments, but it didn't look like the comments were closed. I was like, how is this possible? Like I don't think that, like, it's impossible that a bot didn't put, I don't understand. Like there's some mystery to that. It's like, or is somebody deleting all the comments on one end?
Maybe.
Jamie, this
That's very
company makes
possible.
this company has another trailer for the Super Elfkins. That's like another animated like
But that's probably the distributor has that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what you're looking at is the distributor, not the producer.
Oh my gosh.
God, it's so hard to know. I was trying to find the German one. Oh yeah, the German one has 1.3 million views already.
How many comments?
Let me see. Comments 0.
Isn't that weird? Something weird.
That's really odd, but yeah, it doesn't have any.
I have my own rambling side note that parallels this perfectly. When I just got it. One of the actors in a movie that I co-wrote and co-produced in 2010 called President's Day, which is a high school slasher movie. Because some company in Germany licensed it for German release. A different company than what put it out originally. And since President's Day is irrelevant, it's an irrelevant holiday in Germany, they changed the title to Axe Massacre. So and they also post converted it to 3D, which I still haven't seen it
Whoa,
yet. But...
Jesus, really?
Yeah, and because of the German censorship, they edited the movie and they edited every one of the kill scenes, which the movie is basically just one exercise in
kills, right?
Horror comedy kills. There's 20. So they edited all 20 of the scenes. So I haven't seen it yet. It's been out for 15 years, but someone finally gave me a copy. So yeah,
So that happened to me on Adventures of a 7th Grade Dragon Slayer because it didn't make sense internationally. So they changed it to teenage and they changed it to middles. Like, I don't think it was middle school, I think. But anyway, and it's another one that I can never remember the title. Like when people ask me, I'm in Adventures of a something Dragon Slayer, and I can never remember what it is. And it's different all over the world. Like
Jamie, I found the Croatian trailer of your movie.
Okay. Yes.
It's got 29,000 views, and one comment, and the comment, when translated by Google, is "Who lend votes?" That's
no, I saw that. I was like,
what?
What is this? I'm
what
like, what is going on? Yeah. It's pretty funny
very odd. Yeah.
The trailer is in all these different, it's in French, it's in the English one was the last one to drop, but it was created by an American company.
By the way, I love that. So I don't know who listening to this is, they're probably not friends with Jamie on Facebook, but I love that you decided to share it way before you knew what was happening, because every post is like, I don't know what this is, but I wrote it. Nobody knows what this is. You're like,
quite honestly, I wasn't sure if the English version was ever going to come out.
Yeah.
So
no, I loved watching the German trailer and not knowing what anything was saying.
Oh, okay.
The German one, especially, there's like a villain in it, and it hits really hard in German. Like it sounds like some death metal thing or something. It's like it's kind of cool. I almost wish the villain was just German and they subtitled it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jimmy, did you have anything you want to plug?
No, I randomly got to talk
I doubt
about
anyone's listening
Massacre, so that's great.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'll get on the we haven't done this in a while, so I'll get on the I'll take the baton of talking about leaving reviews. I know you do a little thing at the end after we stop recording, but recently we've gotten a couple new reviews, and they really do. We're usually down in like the 30s in like, that's how many screenwriting shows there are. We're usually down in like the 30s in the search result. So very hard to find natively if you don't know about the show. And when we got a review recently, it bumped us up to like 20. So it really makes a difference in the discoverability of the show. So if you like the show, if you're one of these people who listens to us ramble 10 minutes after we're done, and you enjoy the show, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really
Apple
helps.
Podcasts. You can also leave star reviews on Spotify. I think you can leave reviews on Spotify too. I don't know, whatever app you use probably has a function. Just do that. It's always appreciated, but Apple's the one that's kind of like the main one. But
but it was cool.
Any of them would work.
It was cool to see that like one review popped us up 10 spots in being able to find us. So I mean,
honestly, the three of us should just make fake accounts and just constantly
burn
burn accounts.
I'll put lend votes or something.
Make a Mission Santa account.
Yeah.
This taught me how to make a German animated movie.
The trick is putting lending votes under all the comments, like hundreds of times.
How to lend votes? Yeah. Okay, that's it. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Bob Rose, and thank you for listening to Writers Blockbusters. If you'd like to financially support the show, please consider joining my Patreon. I've been producing the podcast for several years completely out of pocket, and I'd like to keep producing it ad-free and no longer at a loss. If you'd like to help, head on over to patreon.com/Bob Rose Sucks. That's right, Bob Rose Sucks. And if you want the one and only Jimmy George to help polish up that writing project you're kind of struggling with, head on over to scriptbutcher.com. As a listener, you already know he's the best there is, scriptbutcher.com. You can also support the show by simply sharing it or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate both. Thank you for listening, and see you next episode.